Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the CLSR. And I'm your host, the counselor. And today we're going to talk about those cancer sticks that have been advertised for the last 200 years that's taking control. And the real problem is that our young people and many of our older people have got such an addiction, and the smell and the damage that it causes, I think, is underestimated. We're not talking about it. We're talking about everything but. Right? We're talking about marijuana, we're talking about shisha or hookah, all these different things. But in the end, we need to be talking about tobacco. And I'm not talking about wacko tobacco, I'm talking about regular tobacco that comes in them packs that are in those convenience stores. And I'm talking about this crave that we have called cigarettes, and how we need to discuss that for a minute. I think it's out there doing more damage than we care to believe. I seen something the other day that really disturbed me. A young person smoking cigarettes, and it seems like they were grabbing a cigarette every 5 minutes. They were in it. They were in it deep, and it's an addiction. And I don't think they realize what it's doing to them, because it seems like it's become a natural phenomenon. Now, tobacco, otherwise known as cigarettes, cigs, smokes, darts, chew, spit, snuff, dip, shisha, hookah, right? Like, really, what is this stuff? We have to talk about it because it's packaged nicely. Got the pretty little picture of someone dying on it. But the truth is, we don't pay attention to that, do we? We don't care. I guess those pictures, they were supposed to do something, but they don't do anything, especially if you're selling them on every corner store. So what's those pictures supposed to do, especially when those people are addicted to it? Pictures aren't doing nothing. If you really want people to stop, you got to stop putting it out there so much, right? But this is a pastime. There's some excuse for keeping it out there. It's called money making, and they're always going to make money off us. But I'm concerned because I don't think people understand about tobacco the way they should. They should be knowing a little bit more of what they're ingesting. And see, tobacco is essentially a plant that contains nicotine, an addictive drug with both stimulant and depressant effects. Now, tobacco leaves are used to make products that can be consumed in different ways. They can be smoked in cigarettes or cigars or pipes, smoked in loose form in hookahs like the water pipe. They can be chewed. That's an old time thing, especially in sports. Back in the Western days, people used to chew tobacco like it was crazy until they got all that mouth cancer. Then they stopped doing that. But there's people that still do it, right? Get those tins and they get into that chewing tobacco. It can be sniffed as dry snuff, held inside the lip or the cheek as wet snuff. People do that. I've seen it happen before. Or it can be mixed with cannabis and smoked in joints. Tobacco is legal, but federal, provincial, and municipal laws tightly control tobacco manufacturing, marketing, and distribution, and its use. It's been like that for decades, over a century. But where does this stuff come from? Like, we know what it does. See, you just try to understand and wrap your mind. Like, why would you sell things to people when you know it's going to kill them, first of all? You know it's not good for them, second of all. You know, when you know it's going to do something, like, why? We know why. It's called profit over people. See, tobacco products are made from the leaves of the tobacco plant, for sure. The leaves are cured, fermented, and aged before they are manufactured into a tobacco product. Tobacco was cultivated and used as a sacred and healing herb by indigenous peoples in North America long before the arrival of Europeans. Today, most of the tobacco legally produced, even in our country, in Canada here, is grown in Ontario and is commercially packaged and sold to retailers by one of three tobacco companies. Many of the cheaper contraband cigarettes sold in Canada are smuggled in from the United States. And you can really tell the difference between cigarettes in Canada and the United States. There is a serious difference in taste and smell. And you know, it's cigarettes are, it's like finely cut tobacco leaves that are rolled in thin paper. Cigars use whole tobacco leaves. Snuff is finely ground powder of tobacco leaves that often comes in tea bag like pouches. Chewing tobacco uses like what is that? Shredded or twisted tobacco leaves. Hookah uses flavored and sweetened tobacco that is heated and the smoke filters through water into a mouthpiece. You've seen those machines I was talking about. It's quite common amongst the young people. You know what I mean? Um, it's just so common now. But they're finding that even that stuff that they put in their chest is really through these little gadgets that they have, it's really tearing them apart. I think it's rather unexpected. We jumped on that bandwagon too quick, I'd have to say. So, who's using that stuff? I've always wondered, like, who's picking that stuff up and using it at will? So, more than 5 million Canadians smoke, most people between the ages of 11 and 15. Canada has experienced a steady decline in smoking over the past 50 years, although I'd have to say it's kind of resurged in the young people. In 1965, almost half the population smoked. However, by 2014, the rate of daily occasional smoking has dipped to 17% of people aged 12 and over. Among Ontario students in grades 7 to 12, cigarette smoking has fallen from more than 28% in 1990 to less than 7% in 2017. So I'm so happy that there is a decline for sure. I'm so pleased. Really. It's good news. However, it's still out there. And I think if it's on those shelves and young people, even if it's on the decline, and you know what you have to look at too? You have to look at who's reporting some of this stuff. See, whenever you get like statistics, people, and information that you read, you have to understand who's doing the reporting. Who's coming out with these statistics? I mean, when was the last time you or I did a survey on cigarette smoking? Now, I don't smoke cigarettes, but I can tell you a whole lot about what happened. I mean, you know what I mean? I know what it's like to have a cigarette. Trust me. And I can see right now it's very addictive. You don't want to mess with it. But I will tell you right now, some of these statistics are a little bit suspicious. And you have to look at who's doing the reporting. See, tobacco use is more common in certain groups, for sure. People with lower levels of education and income are more susceptible to smoking. Aboriginal people, the smoking rate of this population has been reported to be about 33% in 2014. People who use the, what is that, marijuana or cannabis? There was a 2015 survey found that 48% of people age 15 and over who use cannabis, like weed, regularly, they smoke tobacco, compared to 10% of people who do not use cannabis. And it makes sense because a lot of them like to mix their cigarettes with their marijuana weed. Now, you may notice certain groups that smoke more than others. People with substance use problems, right? 85% of those people, they usually have a combination of alcohol and cigarette smoking. Now, people with mental health problems, there are studies that show that 90% of those people, especially with those with schizophrenia, they smoke a lot. And 70% who have mania and almost 50% with depression will smoke. So, you know, there's a lot of people smoking, and it's really to calm their nerves and make them settle down. I don't know, there's just something about the nicotine. Now, the nicotine in tobacco smoke travels quickly to the brain, where it acts as a stimulant and increases heart rate and breathing. Tobacco smoke also reduces the level of oxygen in the bloodstream, causing a drop in skin temperature. People new to smoking often experience dizziness, nausea, coughing, and gagging. You know, you hear those people choking and spitting and doing all that heavy coughing, and it's disgusting, but it's what's happening. The mood altering effects of nicotine, they're kind of subtle, but they can be complex and very powerful. Some people feel that smoking helps them to be alert and to concentrate. And also it helps them to feel relaxed. I think that's one of the big feelings that people go for, that relaxed feeling. Smoking does raise levels of the brain's chemical called dopamine, which increases feelings of pleasure and reinforces this desire to continue to smoke. That's where you get that addicted smoking feeling. Smoking and secondhand smoke can irritate the eyes, nose, and throat. Tobacco smoke may cause headaches, dizziness, nausea, coughing, wheezing, and can aggravate allergies and asthma. You ever not smoke for a while and then you go and smoke again, and when you try to stand up from sitting down, you get a little bit dizzy? Then you know it's got some effects. Smoking also weakens the sense of taste and smell and does reduce hunger and causes the stomach to produce acid. Now, there are various effects that smoking will have on us human beings, and it really is dependent on how much and how often you smoke, how long you've been smoking. Some people have been smoking since they're teenagers and continue to do so, right? Your mood, expectations and environment, they all impact people who smoke, right? Your age, it's really dependent. Whether you have certain medical and psychiatric conditions, when people leave hospitals and they go on them smoke breaks and you always see them sitting outside and you're like, this isn't a place you should be smoking cigarettes. But believe it or not, there's people out there who have drastically reduced their smoking habits. Thank goodness. So whether you've taken alcohol or other drugs or illegal prescriptions, over the counter or herbal, usually people complement this with smoking cigarettes. It's not even perceived as that bad compared to other drugs. However, it does have its long-term and sometimes short-term effects. When a cigarette is smoked, the effects are felt in less than 10 seconds and last only a few minutes. That's why you got so many in the pack. It is very addictive. And I'm telling you right now, I believe, this is me, the counselor talking to you, I believe some of these chemical companies hook up with these tobacco companies and make cigarettes more addictive. There's a lot of chemicals in cigarettes, right? Tobacco itself is not addictive, but the nicotine in tobacco is very addictive. Once a person begins to smoke, particularly at a young age, the chances of becoming addicted are very high. People new to smoking quickly develop tolerance to the initial ill effects. If they enjoy the stimulant and pleasant effects, they may begin to smoke regularly. Those who do smoke regularly tend to have a consistent number of cigarettes per day. On average, Canadians will smoke about 15 cigarettes per day on average. Now, when you're thinking about that nicotine dependence, this involves a psychological and it even has physical factors. Psychological factors include feelings of pleasure and alertness. People who smoke regularly, they learn to rely on the effects of nicotine to bring out these feelings. They also develop conditioned signals or triggers for cigarette use. For example, some people, and it's true, always smoke after a meal or when they feel depressed or anxious, or they put it together with drinking. Some people who smoke gotta have a drink or vice versa. You know what I mean? But mostly they're drinking and they just back it up with smokes. These triggers lead to behavior patterns or habits. These make it almost impossible to change, but you can change. Just make sure you're aware of the signs. The urge to smoke within minutes of waking, right? Ranking this first cigarette of the day is the most important for some people. Smoking at regular intervals throughout the day. There are people who are working even in education, school centers, and they got their breaks where they go on those little walks and smoke cigarettes. Even though around children, I kind of don't promote none of that. But I think there's just dependency on it, right? There's people who leave their job. What do? They go out there and have that smoke break, right? They're addicted to it. People who are addicted to nicotine may become tolerant to these desired effects, and they may no longer experience pleasure from smoking, but continue smoking because they have cravings and want to avoid nicotine withdrawal. And that's a big one. If you've ever smoked, you'll know one thing. Even when you're done smoking and you don't want to smoke anymore, you find yourself, some get bad with that addiction. Some get into that dumpster diving, where they go into those dumpsters, or some go into the garbage bins or recycling bins, and they go through that garbage to get themselves some cigarettes. It's almost like a serious craving, this addiction, where it's an insatiable habit that they have, right? This is what people do. They're addicted to nicotine, and they don't even realize how bad it gets until they start to see all them brown things all over their fingers, and even then they don't even change, right? And like I said, these people do on occasion have these negative symptoms like irritability or restlessness or anxiety, insomnia or fatigue. They're tired. And they usually vanish within a couple of weeks. And I would say that there are people who are unable to concentrate and still have these strong cravings to smoke weeks and months after quitting. So if you do quit, remember, don't take one here and there. Let some serious time go by, because you will feel the need to go back and have one of those cancer sticks. And it is very dangerous. Don't let it fool you, those pretty packages, right? Don't let it fool you. Yes, tobacco use is the primary cause of a preventable disease and death. It's one of those diseases that are most preventable, especially here in Canada. 17% of deaths are attributed to smoking. And this includes people who smoke and people who are exposed to secondhand smoke. And see that secondhand smoke, people don't take it seriously. They don't. So if you have a partner, think about it. If you're with a partner and you smoke cigarettes and that person doesn't smoke, they're putting you at risk. Now, how are you going to feel if you're a smoker and your partner done been healthy their whole life, they have not picked up cigarettes, and you're smoking around them and they catch it and you don't? Like, that is just not right. And you need to consider that if you're smoking. If you care about that person, you love that person, you give those cigarettes up. And you make sure people aren't living around you in your house who smoke. Because it could impact your kids. You might be smoking cigarettes thinking you're keeping it from your kids because you don't smoke inside the house. Oh, I've seen people, family members, they think because they're smoking outside on the porch, they're doing somebody a favor. Meanwhile, wind's blowing into the window. All I'm saying is, it's smoke, people. Whether you got cigarettes around, you will make mistakes and smoke in front of the kids or around the kids. Just know that that child that could be watching you, or that teenager, might see you doing something that's cool. I don't think today in 2020 we understand the influence that we have on young people. It's powerful. It's an unspoken rule, but people don't consider it. They have that old mentality, some of them, like, what I do, you don't do. But the truth is, they're like watching everything you do and they're learning from it. And some of them have strong willpower, but more often than not, it might not be the first 5 to 10 years, but they're going to pick up those nasty habits. So be careful what you wish for, because you might get it. And those people who are trying to act like, oh, we're separate. You know, you don't do, I'm an adult, you're a kid, you don't need to do what I'm doing. You need to know that you're influencing that child, whether you like it or not. You could, and that's what I don't understand. Why are people sitting up there telling their kids, well, you know, you don't have to do what I do. I'm the adult. But you are the adult. And if you're the adult, you should know the influence that you're having on these young people, right? So I'm telling you right now, I'm so happy that cigarette smoking has decreased dramatically. However, I see it picked up in other different ways, you know, using these little gadgets. It's very dangerous, but they said, oh, you know what, it's not as bad as smoking. But the truth is, a lot of these young people and these companies are mixing tobacco in with these chemicals, and these kids are getting these throat cancers. It's just crazy. So just know that when tobacco is burned, a dark, sticky tar is formed from a combination of hundreds of chemicals. Did you hear me? I said hundreds of chemicals, including poisons that cause cancers and bronchial disorders, like think of bronchitis. Tar is released in tobacco smoke in tiny particles that damage the lungs and airways and stain teeth and fingers. Tar is the main cause of lung and throat cancer. Although nicotine is the main ingredient of tobacco that causes addiction, it is not known to cause cancer. It's that tar. Burning tobacco also forms carbon monoxide, CO, a poisonous gas you can see or smell. When smoke is inhaled, CO replaces oxygen in red blood cells, while this nicotine speeds up the heart, making it work harder. Right? The CO deprives it of an extra oxygen that makes it work. This is one way that smoking contributes to heart disease. See, when swallowed, nicotine is extremely toxic. People think you just ingested it and goes through your nose and goes right. No, it gets into that liquid in your mouth. And parts of it get swallowed, especially if you're drinking and smoking, right? So if you're swallowing it, just know what you're swallowing, right? Ingesting about 40 milligrams of pure nicotine, or roughly the amount contained in 2 cigarettes, can be fatal, right? However, when cigarettes are smoked, most of the nicotine is burned off and only 1 to 4 milligrams is absorbed into the body. Similarly, the amount of nicotine that is absorbed from the patch and other forms like replacement therapy are used to help people quit smoking, right? It really controls them toxic levels. It keeps them below the dangerous level, right? Even in this country, the Canadian laws require that levels of tar, nicotine, and carbon monoxide appear on cigarette packages, right? Because it was once thought that cigarettes with less tar and nicotine are less harmful. However, the research out there, the so-called light cigarettes are just as likely to cause the disease. You know, they got so many different variations of cigarettes that you can smoke. You got light, you got extra light, and some of them don't even, they don't even advertise the differences, but they got all different types of versions. And the only reason why they got them is because they want sales, more sales, right? Think about it. It's marketing. You know what I mean? And you got to know that when it comes to marketing, they'll do anything to make a dollar. They don't care about your health. You got to care about it. You understand? Because if you don't care about it, nobody will. Just know that they come up with all different strategies and marketing concepts to get you into this addiction. One thing I do worry about is how light people take this secondhand smoke, right? Because the secondhand tobacco smoke, that is recognized as a health danger, and which has led to restrictions on where people can smoke. That's the thing. See, once they did the research and they found out that secondhand smoke is so deadly, it's invisible. People get confused because they ain't putting a cigarette in their mouth, but they're still breathing in them airs. Violations of tobacco-related laws, which have resulted in fines and even some prison terms in certain cases, where they found, and I know it's rare, but it has happened. It should happen when people really realize what happens to the young people because of these smokers and this secondhand smoke. And there are some long-term effects. You know what I mean? Really long-term effects. And let's be clear, people. All forms of tobacco have long-term health risks. The risk is highest for people who use tobacco that is smoked, particularly cigarettes. The risk of long-term effects increases with the amount that is smoked and the length of time a person does smoke. And I got to be real, the main cause of cancer, especially lung cancer, is smoking. And smoking increases the risk of cancers of the colon, the mouth, throat, pancreas, bladder, and cervix. It also causes most cases of chronic bronchitis and emphysema. And this is a major cause of heart disease and stroke. A lot of people who smoke, they have a stroke, right? And they have all these medical problems, especially during pregnancy. I'm very disappointed when I see that because, this could lead to miscarriage, bleeding, the placenta previa, and poor healing. It increases the risk that the baby will be underweight or will die in infancy. Like, that is something serious. But, there are women that do it, and they'll swear up and down it has nothing to do with how it impacts their baby. It doesn't even bother the baby. And it ain't even that. It's the fact that it's an addiction, right? And smoking causes osteoporosis. And that's that thinning of the bones. We already got enough problems with our bones thinning as we get older. Got to take all these supplements and vitamins. Cigarettes thins them bones out. And you wonder why. You're getting older. So you shouldn't be taking anything that makes you get older faster. But there are people that do it. And it does increase the risk of digestive problems. It affects the immune system, making people who smoke more prone to colds, flus, and pneumonia. Because once you catch those, what? It decreases the amount of vitamin C in the body, which may cause skin wounds to heal less quickly, right? Causes the arteries in the legs to become clogged, resulting in poor circulation, right? Leg pain, gangrene, and even loss of a limb. And I've had a family member, some of you may have some, they just lost a limb. And my heart goes out to them. And I will tell you right now, they smoke and they quit smoking for a few years and it caught this infection in the skin and people were like, you weren't taking care of it. No, some of that stuff was in their body. Start eating away, and next thing you know, they had to take that leg. And it was so sad because it's so, oh, it just changes their world, man. And sometimes you wish you didn't have those bad habits. But it will impact your life. I can't even emphasize as much. That's why we got to talk about it. Because you need to pass this podcast on to some people who haven't smoked. And if they started smoking, they better realize it, right? Right? There are many risks and dangers of smoking, especially this secondhand smoke. You know, I told you about the heart disease, right? Complications with pregnancy. I told you, right? And there are smokeless tobacco products such as snuff, chewing tobacco, and this increases the risk of oral cancers and gingivitis and tooth decay, right? And I know one thing: there's cultures out there that use tobacco in many different ways. And I know one thing: the Jamaican culture, they got this thing called graba, and it's like a tobacco, the purest form of tobacco. And not a lot of Jamaicans, a lot of Jamaicans like their bud like smoked natural. You understand? They understand that. But some of them put that natural tobacco could be natural to them, and this grabber that people mix in with their weed, right? But it can be harsh, Jack. And that's why I said you got to watch out for that thing called grabber. People love it, but it's not good for you. It's like a combo, right? So if you do have an issue when it comes to smoking cigarettes, and you think because you ain't feeling the detrimental effects that it's okay, a few years it might not be okay and it might be too late. So I can't even stress enough that you're going to need to get some treatment and some support. So after a few years, people who quit smoking can generally achieve the same health levels as people who have never smoked. That's the good news, especially if they stop while they are young. Quitting smoking can take several attempts, so it's very important to keep trying. Especially if you got that thought in your head, oh, I'm going to quit, I got to quit, I got to let this go. Don't dismiss it. Keep on doing it. I don't care if it takes 20 years. Keep those thoughts in your head because you know it's not good for you and your body's telling you that. I don't think a lot of us listen to our body the way we should. Really, we don't. We have to listen to our bodies more. If your mind's telling you something, if those thoughts are in your head telling you that it's not good, keep it up until you get rid of it because that's your body and your mind telling you something, right? And there are stop smoking aids out there that'll help you called nicotine replacement therapy, NRT. And this can ease withdrawal symptoms and reduce cravings. These products, such as the patch, what is that other one? The gum, inhaler, lozenges, nasal spray, they all contain nicotine, but these have none of the toxins that smoked tobacco products contain. I don't even think people are aware of the tars and that. They are aware of the tobacco. Everybody says the nicotine in it, but a lot of people aren't aware of the tar and the tar that gets in there. And if you see people who have those brown fingers and it builds up over time, you can see what if it's doing that to your fingers. You see white dudes with brown fingertips and you see them smoking. Well, black folks, you can't really see those brown fingertips because they're already brown. But you can definitely see it in people who are lighter than our beautiful brown color, right? Because we be thinking we're fooling anybody, but we're not. I'm just letting you know, when you see that on them tips, a lot of people are like, oh, they're dirty. They got an addiction. They're addicted to those cigarettes. And you don't want to be around that too much. You know what I mean? Why don't you just clean your fingers? And it's not that easy. You can't just naturally take soap and wash that off your fingertips, especially when you get them brown stains are hard to beat. And you can see with the teeth too, it stains up pretty good, right? It stains those teeth, that cigarette smoking. I don't care if you're brushing every day, it stains those teeth. And smoker's breath, oh my goodness, it's just not attractive. I don't know how women do it. They got a lot of patience, right? You're with somebody and they don't smoke, and then you got some guy breathing all in your face with the cigarette smoke. They're so nice and accommodating, some women, right? But cigarette breath, oh my goodness, it's such a turnoff. I couldn't even imagine being with a woman who smoked cigarettes. She would not be with me. So anyways, all I'm saying is definitely there are things out there that could help. But really, that what's going to help you is you trying everything that you can, keeping it up, persevering, and keep working at it. You're going to fail. It's an addiction, but you're going to get through if you keep it up and keep working at it, right? Despite what people say. One thing, too, don't try to be around people who are always smoking. A lot of people do that and they're like, oh, that's them, not me. No, you're sitting up there, you're inhaling too. And actually, it's getting in you where you're going to have those cravings too, right? And there are certain medications that do not contain nicotine to help you quit smoking, right? Zyban, Champix, they're available for prescription. Ask for them. Zyban, tell your doctor, I need to quit smoking. I want help, right? Champix, right? That'll help you. In Canada, we got cystazine, a naturally occurring chemical found in plants of the legume family, which was approved, I think, in 2017 for use as an over-the-counter natural health product to aid in smoking cessation, right? Help you loosen that effect. It's less expensive than NRT or any prescription medication. It's almost like a natural thing there. Cutting down before quitting eases withdrawal symptoms for some people and allows them to change their smoking behaviors gradually. Strategies for cutting down include delaying cigarettes, smoking fewer cigarettes, and smoking less of each cigarette, cutting down. This may reduce some health risks, but there is no safe level of smoking. Cutting down is not an alternative to quitting. You know, you hear those people sitting at the table talk about, oh, I used to smoke 20 packs a day. Now I'm down to 10. Not packs, people, maybe cigarettes. But what I'm saying is they used to smoke twice as much. So they think because they cut back in half, they're doing something. Smoking is smoking. Quit. Yes, I do applaud those people that go from 20 to 10, but make sure you don't stop there because it's going to be the same, right? Because in 6 months to a year, you go right back up to 20. Get rid of it. It's not good for you. All approaches to quitting tobacco use work best when the person is highly motivated to quit and have other supports, such as your family, friends, stop smoking groups, right? They help. Or even if you have some telephone support, that will also help. Like I said, people who smoke, who are your friends and are around you, I'm telling you, just stop it. Say, I can't do it, right? It's becoming less popular in many places, right? However, it's still out there. It's very prevalent. You'll see a lot of people still smoking. I know the statistics are giving us the impression it's decreasing. I'm glad it is. But until it's gone, there's other things going on. We got to get rid of it. You know what I mean? So I want you to spread this word on tobacco. And I need you to start telling people, even who you smoke, I don't care if they don't like you, you got to tell them. Secondhand smoke is no joke. Just like smoking these cigarettes, if you're sitting around me and you think that you're doing me a favor, you're not. You're killing me. You're killing yourself, but you're killing me. And if you don't want to die, then you got to start asking yourself why. Why am I with this person who's smoking, don't care about me, only care about themselves? And it's that deep, people. If I told your partner, or for example, if you told your partner, hey, listen, that smoking that you're doing is killing me. Now, that's me, don't worry about it. Is that you got some thinking to do. Right? I'm sorry, that's how serious you got to take it. Because I'll tell you right now, you're talking about cigarette smoke. Think of the smoke that we are inhaling from cars. You don't see it because we got catalytic converters out there. We're not converting fast enough for the environment. So we're inhaling that. So we're not only inhaling cigarette smoke, we're inhaling pollution, all this stuff on a daily basis. And that's where all these cancers are coming from. And people say, oh, we got the cure for cancer. Where's the cure for cancer? Ain't no cure for cancer. And the reason why there's no cure for cancer is because cancer takes many different forms. How are you going to be looking for the cure for cancer when you know damn well that we got all this pollution we're inhaling, right? It's basically a disruption in your biological system, right? Basically, your DNA changes, and it could change for a number of reasons. Some of the food that we eat with all these chemicals, right? All these garbage we get on shelves, chocolate bars, all this meat that has chemicals in it and preservatives, MSG, GMA, all this stuff that we're inhaling on a regular basis. And you wonder why kids are catching cancer when they come out the womb. My goodness, right? The world is not serious. We're not looking to care for people. We got to do better. And cigarette smoking is just where we should not be. We should make sure that it's not on these shelves. We got alcohol on every shelf. Now we got cigarettes that's been there for 100 years. Now we got more. It's endless. So I'm telling you right now, take care of yourself and be responsible. There's enough to look out for. And you can do it. So I want to say, be like the wise old bird and spread the word. Because this is serious, people. It needs to be discussed. And you, take your life a little bit serious in the sense that you care about yourself. And if you care about yourself, care about other people too, show them. Sure, you got to get down somebody's throat and tell them not to smoke around you, or you don't want it in your house. You got to do that. Because it could be influencing a lot more people than just you. And get out of that situation. It's an addiction, right? And I've seen some terrible things happen to people who smoke. And I'm just telling you, if you can break it, break it. And I know you can. So take care of yourself, people.